Today we have Dillon Smith with National Land Realty. And Dillon, are you from Kingfisher? Where were you from? Tell us where you got started with all this.
Yeah, no, I'm Generation 5 Kingfisher native. My family's been farming out there for, like I said, 5 generations.
So were you a land run family?
I think we were shortly after the land run,
Okay.
just right after. And, you know, names changed throughout the history of generations. People got married, but we've traced it back 5 generations thus far to the first one in Kingfisher. And,
Wow.
yeah, grew up in Kingfisher, lived in Kingfisher my whole life, and then high school, went off to college and moved around, and then 2024 moved back to Kingfisher. So.
And you went to University of Oklahoma?
Yeah.
And you got a chemical biosciences degree. What's that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
It's not a requirement for real estate.
No, it's definitely not. I was a young freshman in college that just asked my advisor what the hardest degree would be, and how to get into medical school, because that was the plan. And
okay.
And it sounded impressive. So I took about 7 semesters of chemistry that I no longer use, which is fine. And
hey, just in case
just in case
you need it, yeah. But
and
then you worked in a lab during COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that I can't imagine.
Yeah, so shortly after college, I was applying to medical school for the second time. I had taken a job at DLO, Diagnostic Laboratory of Oklahoma.
And know them well. My wife frequents them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was working in the lab doing the medical diagnostics. We were doing, serum, blood work. Pretty much any test that you have done in Oklahoma gets sent there. And then we were doing the test itself. And then about 2 months or 3 months of me working there is whenever the COVID test started coming out.
Wow.
And that completely changed.
So at that point, that was pretty much all you were doing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, yeah, we went from, I was working graveyard shift, like the night shift, because everyone gets these blood samples and then they get transported to the lab and they're done overnight. I mean, there's not really a day shift. And so we went from getting off at like 4 a.m. in the morning till about 7 or 8 a.m. because we just didn't know how to test all these COVID tests. So,
oh my gosh.
and there were different COVID tests. It was that learning phase of how to deal with COVID. It was crazy. So
you decided you needed to get out of that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't go hunting on the weekends with my family. I was literally in a laboratory. Working night shift is tough in itself, and decided I needed to step out and try something, put some energy somewhere else. And that's kind of what I started an outdoors hunting and fishing podcast where I'd be able to develop some energy towards something that I was passionate about instead of just grinding.
Now is that still going on? Or is it still
No,
going
I
on?
did that for 2 years, or 2 seasons, I guess. The first season was really just my best friends. We'd go out, we'd go hunting, we'd get on a podcast and talk about the hunt. The second season I pushed towards outfitters, just people in the outdoor industry, young guys that were getting into the realm or the field. And I really enjoyed just putting effort into something that I enjoyed doing, I guess. And I knew that was where I was passionate about, but I didn't consciously tell myself that. I was like, no, I'm still going to try this, medical realm. And
You're still stuck in the back of your head.
Yeah. And then I realized, yes, I need to get out, and God opened some doors for me where I was asked to come. Actually, a listener of the podcast and website asked me to come in and interview for their director of marketing for a land brokerage, which that's how I got tied into the space I'm at now. And yeah.
So at what point during this did you I guess you told me, is it okay to say you're recently engaged?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Well, Shaylin and I, I think we've gone to school together since 6th grade.
Wow.
She
high school sweethearts.
No. We were friends in high school, but not sweethearts. We were good friends, and we sat together in, pre-calc and algebra and stuff like that. Always friendly and kind to each other, and always had a thing for her. but I was younger and a little goofy, and she didn't give me too much time of day in high school. But anyway, she moved back to Kingfisher to take a job at Physical Therapy Central, downtown Kingfisher. And I was here momentarily for a brief period, for about 3 months, and we ran into each other, and I was like,
now's your time.
I would love to take you to dinner, not as friends.
Very cool.
We went to Ishans, and the rest is history. So
wow, that seems to be the gathering place. I know Maitland that runs our multimedia journalist works at Ishans, and so we hear all of those connection stories and things like that.
No, Ishans is the spot.
So something that I reading your bio here, and you created, or you're using a Land Tour 360 thing, you call it. But let me tell you my little backstory. So many years ago, I was big in the real estate auction business and I got this great idea where I could make videos and put them on VHS tape and mail them to our buyers were from the east or west coast, and we were selling in the central part of the country, and it was a hit, and that turned into KJ Filmworks. That's now the parent company of the All About Network.
Sweet.
And that's 40 years ago. And I think of where we would have been with the technology we have today. I mean, there was no internet, there was no nothing.
Right.
And there was the U.S. mail and bulky tapes.
VHS tapes.
So
that's awesome.
what is this Land Tour 360?
Yeah, that's something my brokerage is based out of Greenville, South Carolina. We have agents in 44 states, or maybe it's 46 now, I'm not sure. But they have patented what is called Land Tour 360. It's essentially an aerial drone tour that you can upload. Whenever you upload these properties on land.com, Lands of America, a lot of times it's just pictures. They patented this technology where you can essentially go and get a panorama of the property, or multiple panoramas of a certain property, geotag them and splice them into the listing. So whenever you're clicking on this on land.com or Lands of America or whatever site you may be on, you can click through the different 360s from the map, and so you really get a
so you can
awesome
just look around,
bird's eye view of the whole property, and it's really cool. It saves like a showing agent a lot of time, because people can go and essentially fly around the property and really get a great perspective of what actually is there. Because a lot of times, pictures from the ground just doesn't really do it justice. It's hard to see.
Can't see the terrain, where the creeks are, things like that.
You can look at a map, but that doesn't necessarily mean that
it doesn't work. And you had to get your Part 107 drones license to do this stuff.
Yeah, well, for about a year I did not have my drone license. This would have been 2021, I'd guess. And drones had just come out. They weren't as good as they are now. I think I had a DJI Air 2, or maybe 1. Crashed it. That's a whole nother story.
I'll tell you my drone story later. This podcast isn't long enough for that.
Yeah, I crashed a second one last week, actually. Those trees just pop out of nowhere sometimes. But anyway, I had to do that, and it was relatively easy, I guess you could say. Online course, and then went and sat for the test, and now I fly my drone all over. If I can't get onto a certain part of the property, like if I'm going to get stuck and I have a client with me, potentially buying the property, I can take the drone off from my truck and sit there and show them the screen.
On the phone
so it's super awesome.
Now you're doing like the whole gamut. So you do buying, selling, auctioning, and leasing land. Regardless of what they need. What's this? I'm not familiar with the 1031 exchange. What is that?
A 1031 exchange it's a part of the IRS tax code that, let's say your family purchased a property 20 years ago for $100,000, and now that property is worth $1 million. You've inherited the property 20 years ago. Your basis is the difference in what it's worth today minus what it was purchased for, or what you inherited it at.
Original value. Okay.
So you would have $900,000 in basis there. The IRS is going to tax you around 30% of that $900,000 for capital gains tax. What a 1031 exchange is you have a specified time frame that you can sell that $1 million property, reinvest that into certain shares or into similar property. You can essentially reinvest that and defer that capital gains tax. It's a super long-winded, I'm just a real estate agent, I'm not a lawyer.
I get it.
Or a financial advisor, but that is something that we have a sister company that I've been able to help some clients. And, you know, whenever, let's say someone inherits the farm and they have no desire to keep the farm running themselves, they would rather sell it off and have someone that is going to take care of the farm. They're left with that capital gains tax burden, and so finding a way around that is legal and safe that's what a 1031
And the
exchange
government doesn't want you to spend the money. They want you to
reinvest it.
reinvest,
Yes,
so,
in similar real estate. So
very cool.
yeah.
So what's next? I mean, I know you're big into. I mean, what's the part of this you like the most? Is it houses or mostly land, or what is it?
I love whenever. I just love kind of problem solving, I guess you could say. I've helped friends and family with their houses. I try and market myself towards just the land because that's what I'm good at. That's what I've learned. That's what my experience is in now. I've helped people sell houses, but my favorite part is whenever I guess you could say you have someone that is in dire need of your assistance. They don't know what to do. They're kind of at square one, and they're probably a little bit hesitant to work with a real estate agent in the first place, which is understandable. And kind of helping them, go from square one to a successful sale to, making sure that they're not faced with any tax burdens or anything like that. Everyone's happy, the buyer and seller's happy, and everyone can go about their way. And in a very large, the largest decision of their life, which is the sale or purchase of real estate. So I just like finding solutions for people. If it's a farm, if it's hunting property. I love whenever I have a buyer, someone that knows they want a specific hunting property, and we can go out and look at raw land, something that hasn't been developed into a perfect waterfowl impoundment or deer oasis, and being able to envision that with them and say, we could put maybe a little bit of dirt work, a little bit of, we could put a water well here and maybe plant some Japanese millet, and ducks are going to love this place. So that's a super fun part of it too. So I absolutely love what I do.
That's neat. And a lot of times it helps someone, that has experience with that type of thing, knowing what those improvements should be or whatever you could do to a minimum investment to make it fit what they really, really need.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. So how do people get in touch with you, and if they need your services or have questions?
Yeah. Well, we've got our new office in Crescent at 106 North Grand.
And it's amazing. The Dillon, we're in our new studio here today, but he was showing me pictures of the building that he rehabbed in Crescent, and it's amazing. If you're in Crescent, you need to go check it out because it's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we're super proud of it. Most of the time I'm there or in Kingfisher, or running around the state looking at property. But my cell number's 405-922-2076.
Website?
We've got nationalland.com. You can find me on there. Facebook. I've got a newsletter. The newsletter is something that I started about a year ago, and it's really helped. I guess, be able to expand a potential buyer database. So if you're serious about purchasing, get on the newsletter, and that's where I put off-market properties or potential developments or market trends in the Oklahoma real estate landscape. So
very cool.
Yeah.
It's full service kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do this full time, and I love what I do.
Awesome. Dillon, thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you ever need any help with land or auctions or leasing, Dillon's your guy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Stay tuned.